Today, we are going to cover 5 key takeaways from a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book has been a guiding light for generations, offering invaluable lessons on effective communication, building meaningful relationships, and positively impacting those around us. So, let's get started. Key takeaway number 1: Fundamental techniques in handling people. This section emphasizes the importance of dealing with people in a respectful and understanding manner. Carnegie suggests that we should avoid criticism and condemnation and instead focus on expressing genuine appreciation and praise for others. Dale Carnegie reminds us that if you want to gather honey, you don't kick over the beehive. And he is right. The same applies to people. He illustrates 3 points that everyone can follow. The first is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. Criticism is dangerous because it wounds a person's pride, hurts his sense of importance, and puts him on the defensive. By criticizing, we do not make lasting changes and often experience resentment. The second is give honest and sincere appreciation. A while ago, in a classroom full of students, the teacher asked one young boy to catch a mouse that was bothering everyone in the room. He picked the boy for his very special talent. He had an amazing hearing. The boy caught the mouse without problem. And later, this boy became known as Stevie Wonder. And this is a great example of how the appreciation of one's talent can light a spark and turn into something truly unremarkable. This is a real-life example of why it is so important to tell people your honest appreciation. And this brings us to the third point: arouse in the other person an eager want. Instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why they do what they do. That's a lot more profitable and intriguing than criticism, and it creates sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. This brings us to key takeaway number 2. Key takeaway number 2: 6 ways to make people like you. 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. The first principle advises us to become genuinely interested in other people. By showing authentic curiosity in others' lives, thoughts, and experiences, we create a sense of value and appreciation, fostering deeper connections. Number 2. Smile. A simple yet powerful tool is to smile. A warm smile can disarm strangers and break down barriers, making interactions more pleasant and approachable. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Remembering a person's name is the third principle, and it is often underestimated. Carnegie emphasizes that a name is more than just a word. It carries a person's identity and significance. Using someone's name in conversation shows respect and helps create rapport. Number 4. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Being a good listener is the fourth principle, and one of the most crucial skills for building relationships. Encouraging others to talk about themselves allows them to feel heard and understood, which strengthens the bond between individuals. 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. The fifth principle encourages us to talk in terms of the other person's interests. By aligning our conversations with their passions and concerns, we make them feel valued and appreciated. And the last, number 6. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. The sixth principle encourages us to talk in terms of the other person's interests. By aligning our conversations with their passions and concerns, we make them feel valued and appreciated. Key takeaway number 3. Win people to your way of thinking. Dale Carnegie tells us that it is very hard to win an argument, and 9 times out of 10, you only make the other side more convinced of their truth. You need to keep in mind that an argument is not a race, neither a match. You can't win an argument. To get the best of an argument is to avoid it. One of the key stories he shares involves a man named John Wanamaker, a successful businessman. Wanamaker was once involved in a legal dispute with another party over a contract. Instead of fighting the case in court and getting entangled in a bitter argument, Wanamaker decided to settle the matter out of court. He believed that the goodwill he gained from avoiding the argument would be far more valuable in the long term than any victory in the courtroom. This incident exemplifies how a person can come out on top by sidestepping an argument altogether. This brings us to our next key takeaway. Key takeaway number 4. Be a leader. If you want to be good with people, it is very important to learn how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. Ask questions instead of giving orders. Carnegie emphasizes that true leadership is not about wielding authority or exerting power over others, but rather about inspiring and influencing people positively. A leader, according to Carnegie, is someone who can effectively communicate and connect with others. They listen attentively to the concerns and ideas of their team members, making them feel valued and heard. Carnegie illustrates a story of Charles Schwab, who was, at the time, the president of Bethlehem Steel Corporation. Charles Schwab was faced with the challenge of increasing productivity at one of the steel mills. Schwab noticed that the mill supervisor was not engaging with the workers effectively and was struggling to motivate them to improve their performance. Instead of reprimanding the supervisor or implementing strict disciplinary measures, Schwab decided to take a different approach. He went to the mill and spoke directly to the workers on the floor. He asked them about their work, their experiences, and what could be done to make their jobs more efficient and enjoyable. Schwab's genuine interest in the workers and his willingness to listen to their concerns made a significant impact. The workers felt valued and respected by the company's president, which increased their morale and motivation. As a result, the mill's productivity improved dramatically, and the workers became more dedicated and loyal to the company. Key takeaway number 5. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Dale Carnegie advises that when it's necessary to address someone's mistake, it should be done indirectly and with tact. He highlights that directly pointing out someone's error can often lead to defensiveness and resistance, hindering the desired outcome. Carnegie shares a principle from psychologist B.F. Skinner, which states that animals, including humans, tend to repeat actions that lead to favorable outcomes and avoid those that lead to negative consequences. When correcting someone's mistake, we should try to make the person feel like it was their idea to improve the situation. One example Carnegie provides is about a department store manager who faced the challenge of reducing employees' errors when wrapping customers' packages. Instead of criticizing the employees directly for their mistakes, the manager devised an indirect approach. He asked them to suggest ways to improve the wrapping process and encouraged them to share their ideas. When the employees themselves came up with the solution of double-checking the packages before handing them to customers, they took ownership of the idea and implemented it willingly. By using this approach, the manager not only corrected the mistakes but also boosted the employees' confidence and self-esteem. They felt valued and respected because they were given the opportunity to contribute to the solution. Carnegie's point is that by calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly and allowing them to participate in finding solutions, we create a more positive and receptive environment. This approach helps in maintaining good relationships and inspiring individuals to take responsibility for their actions willingly. It aligns with the underlying theme of the book, which emphasizes building positive relationships based on mutual understanding and cooperation. That was all for today's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Let us briefly recap the 5 key takeaways covered today. Carnegie's fundamental techniques in handling people advise us to avoid criticism and instead express genuine appreciation and praise. By showing interest in others and understanding their motivations, we can foster deeper connections. His 6 ways to make people like you include being genuinely interested, wearing a warm smile, using a person's name respectfully, being a good listener, and talking about others' interests. Carnegie reminds us that arguments rarely lead to positive outcomes, and the best way to win is to avoid arguing altogether. Seek common ground and understanding instead. To be an effective leader, Carnegie emphasizes communication, empathy, and genuine interest in the team's concerns. Lastly, when addressing mistakes, he advises doing so indirectly and encouraging others to suggest solutions, fostering a positive and receptive environment.